So, don't let Michelle's presence in me being your son, like, change your answers.
Just try
almost as if I'm like Mitch.
like somebody else is interviewing me, not you.
Yeah, because it's hard. I mean, like, and there'll be situations that I'll ask questions like, you know, what was it like when I was born? I'll try to say Brandon and stuff like that. But I think it helps kind of like not sway too much and just like, because this is, I guess, like the goal of this is to, you know, for us to look back on. I think for you guys to someday watch and stuff like that. But like also what I said to everybody else is like for like Kieran and girls, because like it is amazing how much you forget. And I also think I'm gonna start asking questions, and I think you're gonna find you thinking of stuff that you maybe even forgot about. Because I'll start.
I'm sure there's probably a lot of things I forgot.
Yeah, like I'll probably start.
Mom remembers more stuff than I do. She goes, "Remember this?" I'm like, "No."
But like it was amazing when I interviewed like AJ and stuff. Like when I started making connections, like he started being like, I haven't thought about that in 45 years. Like he was like, I forgot about that. Like it was really cool. So yeah, just why don't you? We're gonna start back and just kind of move our way forward. So when were you born? Where were you born? Did your parents ever tell you what the night was like, what the day was like?
No.
But just start with that. Just give me like as far back as you can remember.
So you just want me to say that?
Just talk. And you're going to talk to me.
Yeah. Okay. So I was born December 10th, 1959, Pittsfield. I believe it was at, I don't know if that was Hillcrest or not then, tell you the truth. Can't remember. Let's see, we lived at Carson Ave, I believe, at the time. Although I don't remember that, but that's where I remember growing up when I was real little.
How many siblings? Talk about your kid. Talk about your family. Where do you fall in line?
I was the third out of 7. So my brother, Pat, was the oldest. Sharon was next. Then me. And then Michael and Mary, which are twins. Kathy. And then Maureen, which was the baby.
What's the age differences with everybody?
Oh, jeez. I would say everybody was born within like 7 years because, well, of course, with twins. You know, Pat was probably 2.5 years older than me. Sharon was a year older, and Mary and Michael were a year younger than me. Kathy a year younger than them, and Maureen about a year younger than Kathy. So we're all pretty close in age, you know.
And where, what was the living situation at home? How many beds, baths?
On Carson Ave, I don't remember because I was so little, so I don't remember. I remember there was a bunk bed upstairs because me and Michael got in trouble because we were rocking it one night, and I remember my father yelling at us saying, "Knock it off," or he's coming up with the belt, which the belt just meant he looped it around and snapped it and made noise and scared the shit out of us. But we were rocking the thing, and all of a sudden the whole thing like collapsed, went forward, tilted, and smashed into the wall. So I do remember that. We got in trouble that night. We might have got the belt on that one because we broke it. So I do remember that. But Carson Ave was, like I say, I was pretty young then.
Do you remember when you moved? And where did you move to?
We moved to Audrey Drive. But before moving there, I used to remember help Pat with the paper route. And one time I'm sitting on the handlebars and we're delivering papers, and I don't remember what officer it was, but one of the Dalton police officers stopped us and chewed us out, kind of gave us a lecture about riding like that. It wasn't safe, and said we shouldn't be doing that, you know. So I remember that was my first run-in with the law. That's what I always say. So then another thing that happened, me and Michael, we had a babysitter, and I don't remember her name. Her name might have been Bean, because Kathleen Bean used to babysit us. But me and Michael, I don't know what happened. We got fighting with the girls or something. We decided to run away and went down to what we called Happy Land later on in life, but it was just a little bridge down the street on High Street, and there was woods up in there, so we ran down in there and hid up in the woods like, and then of course she called her parents, they were out, and I think that's when we got the belt the second time, because he came down and found us calling us, and we finally came out, and I do remember that one. That was but I don't remember a lot at Carson Ave. It was just little bits and pieces I remember. Another thing that I remember was at Christmas time, my mom would always make hot chocolate and a bunch of Christmas cookies. And we would go up in the attic, which had no heat, but there was an old couch up there and a bunch of old blankets and quilts. And all of us would go up there covered in quilts and stuff, watching Rudolph on a little TV that they had up there, and having cookies and hot cocoa. And that was like one of the big memories I remember when I was little. That was just something that always remember that.
Did you guys get a tree every year?
Yeah, we always got a tree. And it was real until, at least on Carson Ave, I think we might have had an artificial one up on Audrey Drive a couple times, or for a couple of years. But mostly it was real. So I remember my grandfather telling me that one year he came over and they had gotten a tree, and he came in and he was stamping the snow off his boots. And as he did it, he said half the needles were falling off the tree because it was so dried out and everything. I don't remember that, but I just remember him telling that story.
Now, where did your grandparents live?
Grandparents lived, well, I had two sets of grandparents. They both lived in Dalton. My mom's parents, Verdi and Kay, lived up by East Housatonic Street. I can't remember the name of the street.
And then what about?
And my other grandparents lived right on Main Street in a pretty good sized house. And then actually they ended up buying, or I don't know, maybe they had it built, I don't remember, a ranch right next to it, and they moved over there. And then my Uncle John ended up moving into that house and raising all his kids. So I had 10 cousins out of that family. Another 5 out of another brother, my father's, Junie they called him. And it was big families back then. A lot of big families.
Did you guys go to church?
Yeah, we'd always go to church every Sunday, and then a lot of Sundays. During the winter, we had usually a lot of Sunday dinners, mostly at my mom's father's house, Verdi's. We used to go there and have a Sunday dinner. In the summertime, it was usually picnic somewhere. You know, sometimes State Forest, Pontusic Lake or Onoda Lake or something, or one of the campgrounds or state forests around, we'd go and just have a big picnic, you know, cook out. That was something that we did a lot on Sundays.
Was there any other traditions, like you talked about the Christmas tradition going up in the attic? Was there other traditions that you had that you guys remember, or just like things that you like, picnics and stuff that you remember doing like often? Like for me, I remember going up to Ashmere all the time. Like,
Yeah.
all the time.
I mean, I know we had picnics and a lot. Back in the day, Farrell and Gregory had actually a camp up on another lake or Pontusic. I don't remember which lake it was, to tell you the truth. I think it was Pontusic. They used to have 4th of July picnics up there, so I remember when we were little going up there, but vaguely, it was when I was a lot younger, so I just remember being up there,
Was there traditions that you guys did as a family that you wanted to bring and did bring to your family? Or I guess in general.
I guess just general. I mean, Christmas Eve, getting together with family, and Christmas Day was always, and Sundays was always family day. It seemed, So yeah, I think some of that kind of got brought into our family a little bit. Having picnics and stuff like that with my brothers and sisters and stuff, and getting together with all the cousins and all that stuff.
What was I guess we could fast forward a little bit, but what let's go into like school and stuff like that. Where'd you go to elementary, middle, and high?
Elementary, the first 2 years I went to St. Agnes, and then they threw me out. No, I didn't get thrown out, but then my mom decided that she was going to move me into Craneville. She didn't really, I don't know, I think she just thought it would be a better fit for me. I think I was the first one to end up going to the public school, because most of us went to St. Agnes for quite a while, but I ended up going to Craneville for a while. And we used to walk. We lived on Carson Ave, which was right across from the park. So we used to walk to school, even, when we were in elementary school. I remember walking home and walking to school. And it was nice because we lived right across from the park, so it was, we had a huge field right there to play in and stuff, which was kind of nice. We had a little bit of woods in the back. And I remember there was a family that lived down behind us. One of the kids was older than us. And me and Michael were playing down there in the woods. And this kid was picking on Michael. And I remember I got mad and picked up a big rock and I hit him over the head. I might have got a belt that time too. But the kid was bleeding. And I just remember my parents getting involved, and it was a big thing, But I was like protecting my little brother at the time. But I mean, I was small, so I didn't really know the consequences. But
what was it like living with 6 other siblings? And was there good kids, bad kids? Were you guys all really close? Were some further?
Well, I think I probably was closer to my brother Michael than I was to Pat, because he was a little older, maybe. And me and Michael were probably more closer to age, so I guess we were a little bit closer to get, But yeah, it was a big, sharing pretty much a small house, I mean, I got hand-me-downs. I mean, I got my brother's old stuff, but that was common back then. It wasn't a big deal. It was just, that's what, yeah, when he grew out of it, I got it, and I wore it, and then I probably gave it to Michael. But that's the way it was back then, and you didn't really think about it, Yeah. It's just the way everybody did it, That was common stuff. You didn't get new stuff a lot, You got hand-me-downs, but that's all right.
Did your mom go? Do you remember going shopping, or did she do shopping? Would she go to a certain store and stuff?
She would do most of the shopping. I don't remember really going. Maybe she probably took the girls with her, but I don't remember going to the stores that much with her. They probably went more grocery shopping with her and stuff like that. I probably did when I was little, but I just don't remember that. Yeah.
Did you guys ever go out to eat?
Not much.
Where would you go?
One of the places we used to go was called Emily's, which is now called Brookside, but it was just a little restaurant. It was a little pizza place basically, but they had picnic tables out back, and they had a little pond there, and they had geese and ducks there, so we'd feed the geese and ducks. And that was one of the places I remember going. I mean, we didn't, like I say, we didn't go out a lot with 7 kids. It was not feasible. But that was one of the places we went. And I think there was another one called the Busy Bee that we went to in Coatesville a few times. And I don't remember what kind of restaurant it was. I just remember the name of it was kind of a funny name.
Was there common meals that you remember Mama was making?
No, not really. I mean, nothing that really stands out. I mean, like I say, Sundays, yeah. I mean, we'd have ham or roast or something like that. You know, I mean, it usually was a pretty big meal. But other than that, nothing I can really recall that much.
So in elementary school, when in 2nd grade or something?
Yeah.
Was there, the few years that you were there, was there like a favorite teacher that you had? Or I guess even not there, I guess through
elementary.
Was there any teachers that stood out to you that you remember?
Let's see, in elementary school, I think Mrs. Thompson, I remember her, she was real nice. In junior high, geez, I don't remember in junior high anybody that really...
Short, 3 years.
Huh?
Short time.
Yeah, I don't remember in junior high school. Because we had different teachers then. You went to... That's when you started to go, like math, you'd have one teacher, and English and stuff like that, so it was a bunch of different ones. I do remember one of the teachers that was... we had kids that came down from Beckett, and it was what we called the Mead twins. And one of them mouthed off to the teacher. She was a pretty good sized lady, and he had longer hair, and boy, she grabbed him and freaking just about threw him across the room. And I just always remember that. I mean, it was the talk of the day. You know, he mouthed off, and she went over there and grabbed him right by the hair and just freaking tossed him out the freaking door and said, "Go to the principal." I don't think the teacher would do that today, you know. But back then, she wasn't going to take shit from him. But Mrs. Lucaroni, that's the teacher. Yeah. She was a math teacher. Yeah, everybody liked her. Of course, she was real pretty. That's why. But no, she was actually a pretty good teacher, too.
That was like me and Miss Deuce at the time.
Yeah.
I look back and I'm like, she was pretty. And now I'm realizing, I was like, she was also probably like 21
yeah.
at the time. Like, I didn't realize it then.
Yeah.
So what was your parents' relationship like? What did mom do? What did dad do for work?
My father he was an iron worker. So he worked outside, hard work. I remember him bundling up on winter days, layering up with clothes, and you know, you have to have that metal freaking helmet on and stuff, and he'd had a liner in that, and you know, warm gloves, coat, and I remember he hated winters, you know, especially working outside in the sub-degree temperatures and damp winters that we have around here. I just remember him bundling up, and he'd have to go in early sometimes, you know, depending on where the job was. You never know. He'd have to travel. But I always remember, like, on snow days, I remember him waking us up, the boys, boys, guess what? No school today. And then he'd say, but you got to get up and shovel me out so I can go to work. So we'd have to get up early anyways, probably earlier than what we normally got up for school. And go out and shovel the driveway so he could get out and go to work. So that was our job, the boys, was the shovel.
And mom, what about her?
My mom didn't start working until later on, and she was working at England Brothers, and I think another one was Bessie Clark, like clothing store and stuff like that. I think she might have done a little stint at a bank somewhere too once. But early on she didn't until us kids got a little older and that she could you know, we didn't have to have direct supervision all the time. So then she was started to go to work.
What was their relationship like? Do you remember?
Theirs?
Yeah.
I think they had a pretty good relationship. They had what they had like little date nights and stuff where, you know, even when we were older, teenagers, you know, was all mom and dad have date night tonight, so they'd be in the living room, you know, having dinner by themselves. You know, we weren't allowed to go in there and stuff. You know, and even I think back when we were little, when we were up in the attic, that was their date night. You know, they sent us up there so they could have some time together and, you know, enjoy Christmas a little bit, the holidays, without 7 kids bothering them. You know, so I'm sure they sat down there, had wine and cheese and crackers or something, who knows, you know. But I remember them a lot doing little things like that together, you know. Because like I say, they didn't have a lot of money to go out a lot and stuff like that. I mean, they did go out with friends and stuff, but we had picnics and stuff a lot of times, 4th of July and stuff like that. And during the summer, have different people over that they knew, you know.
Was there, do you remember them fighting ever or anything like that? Or just
them fighting? I remember a couple incidents where my father got in trouble. One time he supposed to be going to a hockey game up in Montreal. And somehow him and his buddies ended up in Florida watching the Super Bowl. So I remember him calling me, and I could tell that they had been having a few drinks and stuff. And he said he was in Florida. I'm like, Florida? I said, I thought you went to Canada or Montreal to watch a hockey game. He goes, yeah, we got sidetracked. And I said, well, you want me to tell Mom? Because I was a teenager. I was probably 16, 17 then. I don't know. And I said, you want me to tell Mom? He goes, no, I'm going to have to do that. And I said, then I just remember handing the phone to my mother and saying, Mom, Dad wants to talk to you. And I was like, I'm not leaving. I got to hear this one. So he was actually at my grandfather's house. And then my grandfather got on the phone and talked to my mother and calmed her down some and stuff because she was pretty mad. I do remember that one. That was yeah. But other than that,
What about later on in life? What your dad did some side work, right?
Yeah, later on, things got real bad in construction, like in the 70s. So he was kind of laid off. I remember him not looking for work, but they had to travel, like, they were going upstate New York and Connecticut and all over for work, just, you know, any place that had any work, and there just wasn't a lot around. So a lot of times, like, they were leaving like real early in the morning. He'd carpool with a couple other guys, any jobs that they could get.
Now, did he do PI work at some point?
Oh yeah, he did. I forgot about that. Yeah, him and a buddy of his was doing a little private investigation on the side. Yeah, he told me a couple stories about that. One was they were investigating this guy that worked in a bar, and the owner was saying, I'm short, things aren't adding up. So they were sent in there to investigate him. And come to find out, the guy wasn't really stealing any money from him, but he was giving drinks away like there was no, everybody was his buddy, and you got in there and they got talking to him, and next thing you know, he's, that round's on me, this, they finally had to tell the owner, the guy's just, he's a nice guy, but he's giving too many drinks away, he's over the top with it, So I do remember that one. I know he told me a couple other stories, but I can't remember them right now. But that one stands out.
What was what was prices here back then for a beer when you could start drinking?
Jeez. When I was a kid, not kid, but 18 or whatever, we used to go to what we call the Edmar, which is now, it's on East Houstonic Street. I can't think of the name of it.
relatively changed.
Yeah, it's changed numerous times. But anyways, it was called the Edmar. We used to go there, and on Sundays you could get 25-cent drafts. And by Sunday, being a teenage, we didn't have any money left by Sunday, so we were scrounging up a few dollars. We'd go up there and play pool and get 25-cent drafts. I mean, they were only probably, I don't even know if they were 10 ounce, But that was a big thing. It was like we used to do that all the time. And then we used to go over on Sundays. We'd drive over to New York to get beer because you couldn't buy beer in Massachusetts, but you could in New York. So a lot of times, a lot of people would be driving over there to grab a couple 6-packs. Of course, when you're that young, you don't think enough to buy it ahead of time. you live day to day.
Yeah. So the drinking age was 18. What year did it change?
It changed, actually, I can't remember exactly what year. I don't know if I was 20, but I actually could not drink for like a couple months or something because my birthday's in December. They changed, I remember them changing it, and I had to wait a couple months.
It was like August or something.
Yeah, they did it like that, and I had to wait a couple months. And it was funny because I remember because I'm going to a party, and it was early. It wasn't real late at night or anything. And I had picked up a case of beer to go to this party that we were going to. Actually, I was by myself. I'm driving, and all of a sudden, state troopers behind me, and he pulls me over, puts the lights on. I'm like, what the heck? I'm not speeding. I'm not doing anything. I'm like, geez, this is. So he pulls me over and license registration, which I give him and everything. And of course, the case of beer sitting there in the back seat. I'm legal, but it's the night that they change it. So he says to me, he says, well, I pulled you over because you got a headlight out. I'm like, oh. I said, all right. I said, okay. He said, he says, you got till midnight to finish that beer. I said, well, I'll try like hell. And that was it. He let me go. I mean, I hadn't really done anything. Just had a headlight out.
From what I recall reading at some point or talking to somebody is I think actually when they moved it year by year. So at one point it was 18. Then they moved it.
They did, but I only it only messed me up one time.
Oh, so they must
for some reason because of when they did it, or I think one time they moved it more or something. I don't remember, but I do remember I had to legally I couldn't drink for a month or two.
High school teachers, like an English teacher or something, and she was like, I remember when they changed it, she's like, I could never drink until I was 21 because my birthday was on the other side.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
Like the other side of you, basically.
Yeah.
Where she was like, I was always like 2 months behind, so I could never drink. For 3 years, I got boned, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, sports? Did you play sports? Did anybody play sports in the family?
Yeah, when we all played like some baseball, pee-wee baseball. We played football at the time was big in Dalton. I mean, they had the I don't know, I guess it was a pee-wee league they called it, but there was red, white, blue, green, gold. There was so many different teams. I mean, they didn't have soccer back then. Soccer was. I mean, it was soccer, but there was really kids playing soccer back then. It just wasn't a thing back then, It was either baseball or football, basically, or in basketball. And that was about it, so.
Was there games that you guys, I remember playing, even kick the can and flashlight tag growing up. Games that you played in the neighborhood?
Oh, yeah. The neighborhood, there was an empty lot across the street from us. For years, there was no house there, and that was basically our baseball, kickball, tag, or whatever we were playing at the time was in that lot all the time. All the neighborhood kids. That was just where we did it all the time until they built the house.
Did you have a best friend growing up?
Yeah, Jim Barth was probably my best friend. When I was in a teenage year. Before that, in junior high, I had a friend that was called Robbie Lambert. He lived down the street from us on Carson Ave. We lived on Carson Ave when we were real little. He was probably my first best friend that I had. But then he moved. His father worked for GE and stuff, and I think his father actually had something to do with naming the Apollo spaceship or something. Somehow he was involved in that. I can't remember exactly.
Have you talked to those guys?
I haven't talked to him. I totally lost contact with him, and I don't know whatever happened to him or anything. I mean, they lived around us for a while, and then he got transferred somewhere, and I never just kind of lost contact.
So, all right, we'll fast forward a little bit. Tell me how you met Mom.
I met Mom at a party. It was a beer party, basically. It was kind of like bring your own, but it was kind of up in the woods behind this kid's house, and it was off Washington Mountain Road. And we were sitting around, there was a big bonfire and everything, and we were sitting around there. I was sitting there with my buddy, and then all of a sudden this girl and her friend come up, and we noticed they were drinking beers that were the same beers that we were drinking. And we asked them where they got the beer, and they said, "Oh, we found it in the woods," which it was our beer that we had hidden, So I said, "Oh, you're stealing our beers," and that's how we met.
And what ran through your head at the time?
At the time, I just thought, yeah, she's very pretty. I thought, I said, and then we just got to talking more and more, and started going out together.
What did you? From my understanding, you guys were very different at that time.
Yeah, she was in the band and all that, and I was more into hanging out with the troublemakers and getting in trouble and stuff like that. So yeah, so I don't think her parents were too happy at the time.
It's when a small town. Did you guys know of each other before? Well, what's the tell?
Not really. I mean, she was from Hinsdale.
Yeah.
So, and we probably met when we were in high school, so she might have just started in high school there,
Yeah, how old were you?
Because I was probably, I'm not sure if I was a senior or junior when we met. I can't remember.
And she's 2 years younger.
Right. So she might have been just a freshman or sophomore.
Who was she with?
I think it was Mary Ellen Larkin, which is one of her best friends, I believe. Pretty sure. I'm sure she was probably there. At least one of them that was with her.
Yeah, I think. Now, where did Joey Missler live?
She lived in New York, and they didn't meet until. Yeah, she lived in New York, and they didn't meet until she worked at Geary Corporation.
Oh.
That's where she met her.
So where'd you guys go on your first date?
The first official date, I think, was Candlelight Inn down in Lenox. And that was a nice restaurant. And I just remember it was funny because Mom was getting butter. And when she went to, the butter was kind of hard. She went to get a piece of butter, and it kind of popped off and flung up and hit the wall. Here we are in this nice fancy restaurant, and she's got butter flying, and we always laughed about that afterwards.
Well, you're, 17, 18, and she's 15, 16.
Yeah, she's 16, yeah. Yeah.
Kids.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah. I mean, this was a, fancy restaurant at the time, and, but, yeah.
What else did you guys do while you guys were the first few years?
Like I say, we took a lot of rides. I just remember we used to drive up through Vermont and on Sundays and stuff like that, on the weekends. Just.
Now, did you have your own car?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a couple different cars.
Bring me back, because I know stories, but growing up, you guys did the family? How many cars did you guys have with 9 people in the family?
My father they had 2 vehicles, a station wagon, and then he had an old Nova that he used to take to work. For quite a while, he had the Nova. Then he had a little Pinto wagon or something when we were growing up. But yeah, we just had the two vehicles. Like I say, station wagon was what we had. I remember growing up all the time. We had station wagons with 7 kids. That's all. I mean, we drove to Florida in a station wagon for family trip one time, and went to visit my grandparents that were living down there. And we all piled in the freaking back of that thing and slept in there and drove all the way to Florida in it and back. Oh.
So, when did you meet Mom's parents?
It was probably, I don't know, after we dated a little while. I don't exactly remember the first time meeting him.
What grade? Who was in Mom's grade of your siblings? Somebody must have been.
Mary. Michael would have been, but he stayed back a year. Actually, Pat stayed back a year too. I'm the only boy that didn't stay back. But those two both stayed back a year. They got held back.
So Mary. Okay, so Mary.
So Mary was in her class.
So what did siblings say when you started dating Mom?
Well, they were fine with it. They thought she was great,
What about your friends?
Yeah. Huh?
No comment.
Not really. No, they didn't. I don't know if there was. I don't really remember.
No. I dates anybody without having comments.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably did, but geez, I mean, then we started hanging out more and more together and probably didn't hang out with our friends as much. So I'm sure that was, I know for Mary Ellen it was a problem. She didn't like that.
So, when did you start working at Cranes?
When we first got married, I was working at a hardware store. And it wasn't long after that my father talked to somebody that he knew at Cranes. And then I started working there. And that was like 44 years ago. And I started working in what they called the beater room then, and it was swing shift. So you worked all different shifts.
So you're 21 at the time?
Yeah, I was probably 20, 21, yeah.
So, I thought you told me that there was like a co-op type.
Oh, actually, that was before, though. Yeah, when I was in high school, we had what they called a workman's, or they had a name for it. Work study is what they called it. Mm-hmm. So what you did is you worked a week, you went to school a week, you worked a week. And I did that at a hardware store out in Pittsfield, which was called Tyler Home Supply. So,
Still there?
No, that's gone.
What's the one?
It's actually a liquor store now.
Yeah, but what's the one on? Oh no, that's on North Street.
That's North Street. That was Car Hardware. That was their rivals, I guess, or whatever. That was there then too. Yeah.
So.
But I worked there during high school, and then afterwards I worked during the summer, and then I stayed on for a while and was working there until I got into Cranes.
When did you guys get married?
Where?
When?
Oh.
When and where? Tell me the story of how'd you propose? Well, yeah, first, how'd you propose to Mom?
Well, I actually was at our house, and it was around Christmas time, and all my sisters were saying, what are you getting? What are you getting, Joanne? What are you getting, Joanne? And finally, I had the ring. I finally pulled the ring out, and I tossed it to her, and she was sitting in the chair across from me. Yeah, that was the big proposal. And she opened it up, and then she said yes in front of all my sisters and stuff, brothers, I guess, that were there.
Where'd you get the ring from?
Oh, I think Crown Jewelers, I believe was the name.
Do you remember how much it was?
I don't. I don't remember how much it was. I just remember it was a small diamond.
Is she still wearing it today?
No, the diamond actually fell out one time and she lost it, so we got a replacement afterwards. But we never found it. I have no idea where the diamond fell out of the ring. Yeah, I mean, it was years later that just, worn and stuff, and it finally came loose.
Yeah. So where'd you get married?
We got married at St. Patrick's Church up in Hinsdale by Father LeVay. Before that, we had to have a couple meetings with him, and I wasn't one to go to church regularly or anything. I'd go here and there, and he had a big, he was friends with my father-in-law because my father-in-law was a lector there and everything, so he was pretty close to him. And I just remember him giving me a big lecture about going to church and all that stuff. And at the end, he said, well, what do you think, Kevin? I said, well, Father LeVay, I said, when you see me in church, you're going to know it's because I want to be there, not just because it's Sunday and you're supposed to be. And that's pretty much how we left it. And he didn't say much more. And he still married us. But I do remember that. It was like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, was she always going to church?
Yes. Yeah. Mom always went to church all the time. I mean, I did a lot with her, but then I slowly just kind of stopped going. I'd go here and there.
When did you, when did you start hunting?
I didn't start hunting until I was probably in my 20s, 21, 22. Actually, my Uncle Mike actually got me involved in it. He got me involved in actually bow hunting first. He got me interested in hunting with a bow and stuff. So the first thing I bought was a bow. I didn't buy a gun until later on. I didn't start gun hunting until after I started bow hunting first for a little bit. And then, of course, he was doing rabbit hunting and all that stuff, and talked to me, you should get a gun. So I ended up getting a shotgun and stuff, and used one, and started deer hunting with him and stuff. And it was funny because I hunted with him for a few years there, and then we were even going to Vermont hunting. And then my Uncle Mike was the type of guy that when he gets into something, he goes all out. I mean, when he was bow hunting and stuff, and he was shooting in a bow league and all that, he was like going to competitions and stuff, and he was very good. And that's just the way he was. He get into something. He got into photography for a while, and he had to know and learn all about it. That's just the type of guy he was. And then he actually kind of stopped. He got so much into photography for a while, he hardly even hunted for a couple of years. So I started just hunting by myself a lot, and then I started hunting with my father-in-law and his friends. Because he asked me, why don't you come hunting with us? And then I actually ended up going to Maine with him later on and stuff. But yeah, that's basically how I started. And I still love it to this day. I love being out in the woods and love hunting. Whether I get something or not, don't care. It's still nice to just be out in the woods and see stuff,
So you guys got married at St. Patrick's.
Yep.
And you were 21. I'm trying to do the quick math in my head. When did Britt come? Where were you living?
We were living on Easton Ave in Pittsfield. We had an apartment, and we stayed there for, it was a few years. I mean, Mom was at first going to BCC still, so she was still going to school. So she was working part-time at Stop and Shop. And then we were saving all our money to put on a down payment at a house at some point. And I'm trying to remember. We were saving for quite a while, so we lived in that apartment for God, I would have to say at least 4 years
Did you move in after you were married or before?
after we were married.
After Grampy wouldn't.
Yeah. No, it was after we were married. We moved there. And we, like I say, we stayed there for quite a while, saving all our money as much as we could. You know, we didn't do a lot, you know, as far as going out and all that sort of stuff. I mean, we had friends over and stuff like that, and did stuff like that. But
You must have been in there for 7 years. At least.
I guess we were. I thought it was shorter than that, but it might have been longer.
It must have been because Britt's 7 years older than me, and you guys moved in here pretty much like, I think it was like 6 months before or after I was born.
Here. Yeah, but we moved to Otis Ave first.
Oh, you were Otis. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
were Otis Ave for a while.
That's right. I forgot. I was getting it mixed up.
Yeah, so we were at Otis Ave for
So
first.
you moved. So you moved at some point to Otis.
Yeah, then we bought that house on Otis Ave.
Oh, you bought the house. In Otis.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. We bought that. That was the first house we bought. And the guys, there was 2 guys that owned it. They had bought it and were fixing it up. We were looking at for houses. Some friend of ours actually told us about this house. So we went and looked at it without our realtor actually, because they never said anything to us. And then we finally said to the realtor, "Hey, what about this house here? Why?" So somehow we ended up making a deal with those people and buying the house. And I don't think we actually used the realtor because it was a private sale between them, I think. I don't remember how that went about. I don't know. But we had her uncle was a lawyer, so he told us, or he had someone that did real estate in his law firm that he recommended to do the closing and all that stuff for us.
Which side uncle? You remember?
Yeah, it was Mung.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was Mom's uncle. It was her mom's brother, Dave Mung.
It was Graham's.
Right.
What was Grammy's maiden name?
Grammy's Mung.
Mom.
Yeah.
Or was it Mom?
Yeah.
So,
Well, that was her married name, I should say. Her. Oh, your grandma's, yes, is Mung. I'm sorry. When you say Grammy, I'm not a different.
I know.
A different generation here. I know.
I'm trying not to go back and forth with that. Do you guys have pets growing up?
Yep. Yeah, we had dogs. We always had a dog when we were young, or all through growing up. We had a couple different dogs. One of them was called Hoagie. I used to always say that was the wonder dog. I always told Mom that he was the best dog. And he used to follow. He would show up at school. We lived up on Audrey Drive then, and he would show up at the high school, or even the junior high school. Sometimes he would just show up there. He was just. We never tied the dog up. The dog ran wherever he wanted to go. He just went. He was part husky, part German Shepherd, and pretty friendly. I mean, I remember he used to follow me on my paper route. And one time, I used to go down to Greenwich Park, and I would sometimes hitch a ride back. Sometimes I got a ride, sometimes I didn't. But I was walking back. A lot of times I'd get a ride. And I just remember this guy pulling up. This black guy pulled up to give me a ride. I think he worked at Crane and Company. And I opened the door, and all of a sudden his mouth just dropped open, and he just about turned white as a ghost. And I'm like, I had no idea what was going on. Well, I didn't realize a dog was behind me, came running out of the woods or somewhere, charging in. It just jumped right up in the front seat. The guy was I think he just about shit his pants because he thought he was getting attacked. And of course, Hoagie just jumped in and started licking him in the face, wagging his tail. And I'm trying to grab the dog. Hoagie, get out, get out. And the guy goes, "Oh my God," he says. freaking dog just about gave me a heart attack. He says, that your dog? I says, yeah. He goes, oh, if he's that friendly, he said, he can take a ride too. He said, so he let him ride with me. I always remember that. I was like, oh my God. The guy just about died.
So, all right, so you bought Otis.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember if you had Britt when you moved in?
No, we had Grandpa. Grandpa was staying with us.
Oh, Grandpa.
My grandfather used to come up and stay with us from Florida. And actually, when we bought the house, we were still on Otis, in Pittsfield. Yeah. And he actually moved in with us to Otis Ave. And that's when Mom told me she was pregnant with Brett.
When you moved in?
Yeah. Yeah. It was like right then. And Grandpa was there for that too, you know.
Was she planned? Or kind of like, if it happens, it happens?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So then you had Britt, and then 2 years later, Ryan.
Yeah, 2 years later we had Ryan.
And then 5 years.
5 years we had Brandon. The mom was all upset. Because was I gone? I might have been gone hunting with my father-in-law when she found out that she was pregnant with Brandon. And I said, I just remember her, oh my God, what are we going to do? You know, I'm like, what's the problem? I was like, why are you all upset? What, you know? I just remember her being all upset about it because it was kind of not really planned, but it was like, okay, so what? You know?
What was it like holding Brett for the first time?
It was kind of a shock. It was kind of like, oh my God, I'm responsible for the life of this person. I always remember that. I was just like, holy crap, you know, what the hell did I get myself into? It was like, it was like, wow, this is, you know, a whole nother level here. I'm not just responsible for myself and my wife, but now we have this, you know, human that we're totally relying on us for survival. You know, it's kind of like awakening experience.
And I don't mean to, I'm sorry I'm jumping around, but I'm thinking of stuff. Tell me about Topher.
Topher was born.
And who is Topher for the audience?
Topher was my sister's son. She got pregnant when she was very young by, you know, a kid that lived in Dalton, which actually I was friends with his brother growing up. And she ended up keeping the baby. And Topher actually, for the first or few years of his life, and was living with us on Audrey Drive. So he was kind of like, you know, really small when I was there, you know. So he was just a little kid, you know.
How did that change you at all, do you think?
I think it was, I just remember it was very stressful for everybody, I think. You know, my parents, my sister, all of us, it was kind of like, well, wow, you know. But then at one time she was talking about giving them up for adoption, and I just remember totally losing it on her. Saying that, you know, that's bullshit. That's not happening, you know. And it didn't, but I think she was going through tough times. And she was questioning whether she should raise this child or not, which is understandable.
Well, I remember she told me that particularly you stepped up a lot when it happened.
Yeah.
And that, I think she told me that, and Maureen told me something else. and it doesn't surprise me the way that you're with your grandkids and stuff like that. Jumping around. That's what I do. So, why'd you buy this house? Tell me the story. You told me.
So, we were looking for another house because ours was getting a little small on Otis Ave. There was not a lot of room, you know. I mean, the backyard was decent. We had a little nice deck that we had put on. And my father-in-law actually helped me build. But it was just getting a little bit too small for us, so we were starting to look for another house. Mom saw this. I actually grew up around the corner, and the guy that owned it was Mr. Carr, which when I was a kid growing up, we used to cut through his fields and stuff, and sometimes he would give us a hard time and chase us and stuff. And our dog, one of our dogs, actually got into his chickens a couple times and actually killed a couple of his chickens. I remember him coming up to our house with a shotgun, all mad about the dog. And of course, my father would talk to him and sit him, have a beer and calm him down, and father paid for the chickens, But yeah, we used to call him Old Man Carr.
So why was he selling?
He was an older gentleman at the time. He had all this farmland. He ended up trying to develop it himself, basically, with some New England home company or something. I don't know, but it wasn't going very good, I guess. So he ended up selling it to Allegroni Construction, all the property. And the deal was they built him this house, and he actually, they built him this house in exchange for the property, I guess. So that's how he ended up with this house. He was getting older in life, decided it was too big for him, and he was looking to move. So it wasn't really on the market, I don't believe. I think he had a for sale sign or something.
Yeah. And
Mom saw it, and she called him, and then he said, well, come on over and talk to us. Of course, I was like, are you kidding me? We can't afford this place. It's way too much, So then we came over and talked to him, and he was, oh yeah, well, I can finance you, and I can do this. And so we talked back and forth. Of course, then he realized I was one of the kids that grew up here. So that kind of helped a little bit, I think. So we did end up buying it actually from him. And we put a down payment. Well, when we sold our house, part of that went for the down payment on this house. And we were actually paying him so much a month. For a while, we were paid like a bank, but it was through him. And then a few years went by, and the interest rates had dropped quite a bit, and it was just well worth for us. We decided, let's refinance and just go with a bank and pay him off, and we saved money that way too in the end. So that's how we ended up here.
Peace.
Honestly, was way when I was a kid, and he was older then.
Yeah. Well, Shaughnessy's just like such a common name. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So many Shaughnessy's out in Boston. It's insane. Actually, one of my neighbors is a Shaughnessy.
Really?
Yeah. But there's like 1,000.
Yeah.
It's wild. Okay, so when did you guys? Yeah. So when did you get stopped?
We used to go over. There was what they called across from, or kitty corner from our house on Carson Ave. We had the park, and then you had what they called Warner's Farm, which they had milk and all that stuff, and we used to go over there and get milk, butter, and everything all the time, So my mom sent us over there to get a couple quarts of milk one day, and maybe some butter, so I don't remember, but we went over and got it. We were walking back, and Michael wanted to carry the quart. And I said, no, it's too big for you. You know, you carry the, I don't know, whatever else we had, the butter or something, I don't remember. And he got mad and sat down in the middle of the street on High Street. And sure enough, all of a sudden, there comes this big black car around the freaking corner. You know, and I'm like, get out of the road, get out of the road. And he's like, no. And who, of course, is it? But Father Shaughnessy from the church that's just down the street from us growing up. So he gets out and gives us a big lecture. And, of course, then tells my parents afterwards that we're sitting in the middle of the road.
Well, you also didn't tell me, we didn't talk about the box.
The box, oh, God.
We didn't talk about that. So what was the box?
So a bunch of us teenage boys growing up in this neighborhood, during the summer, we decided, geez, it'd be nice if we had a little place to hang out, you know, a little fort or something, you know, of some sort. Or so they happened to be putting an addition on a house up at the top of the street. So we started to sneaking around there when nobody was around. We grabbed some pieces of plywood and some 2x4s and box of nails and whatever we could, and we were bringing it up in the woods, hiding it. You know, we kept doing it most of the summer whenever nobody was around that we could see. Then we'd grab a few pieces of wood here and there. And I don't remember the contractor's name, but finally, you know, he caught on that he was missing. You know, I'm short. You know, this much plywood. He bought enough to do the job, and he doesn't have it. You know, so he knows something's going on. So he, of course, sees us going up in the woods all the time, and by then we had the place built. When he finally realized that he was missing wood, so he showed up one time while we were up there. We had already built the place. You know, we had a pitched roof on it. We had one of the guys had gotten a stove, it was just a steel drum that he cut out in shop. He was taking shop class at school, so he cut it out to make a stove. Somebody got a hold of some stovepipe, so we had heat and everything in it. And by then it was getting towards later in the fall. So he shows up, this guy shows up when we were up there one day, and he says, you know, we were caught. We were red-handed there, you know. We were all in there, and he comes walking up, him and one or two of his workers. So he said, geez, he said, you guys did a pretty good job on this, you know. Geez, you got the pitched roof, you know. It's all, you know, you got a stove in there and everything. Of course, he knew we were using it to have beer parties and stuff, you know. So he said, well, you guys got a few choices. He said, you can pay me for the wood, all the supplies that you took. He said, I can call the police and press charges. He said, there'll probably be grand theft because there's probably over $1,000 worth of materials here. He says, or you can, you know, work it off. He says, so I know you guys don't have any money. I know you don't want me to call the police. So probably your third choice is probably your best option, that you come work it off, or, you know, because I'm still putting the addition on. I got stuff to do. I got the whole yard needs to be raked and all that stuff. So we ended up going up there every Saturday. We'd show up and we'd go to work and have to rake the lawn out and whatever else he wanted us to do, you know, to pay it off. And we did. We worked it for a while, but he actually treated us pretty good. I mean, he could have caused, you know, we could have gotten big trouble, but he was a pretty down-to-earth guy and knew that we weren't really hurting anything, and he just said, hey. So we worked there for quite a while. Finally, he said, okay. He said, I think you guys you worked off your debt, you know. And then they had a big rainstorm afterwards, and he stopped us and asked us he said, I'll pay you if you guys rake the lawn again, because all the grass seed, a lot of it got washed out, and he needed to redo it. So we did. We actually worked another Saturday or two for him, and he paid us, which probably just amounted to beer money for us at that time. But before that, we used to, me and my brother used to have a paper route here, and the papers used to get dropped down at the end of Grange Hall Road. And there was the Grange was actually what they called down there. And it's actually where Mom's parents got married. That's where their wedding reception was, at the Grange. The Grange was like the oldest Grange in the country, I think, at the time. And they were trying to save it, but it actually had a little bowling alley attached to it, like 1 or 2 lanes or something.
Was it outdoors, right?
No. It was inside. It was a building. It was,
I thought for some reason the bowling alley was...
No. It was attached to the side. There was something that they had put an addition on at one time. Yeah. There was only like 2 or 3 lanes in it or something. I don't know. But we're down there one day, and of course they had a lock on the thing, but I don't know, there was a slat or something. We broke in, and we used to go in there and mess around, and Michael found a freaking it was wooden bowling ball, actually. It was wood. That's how old it was. So it's, of course, a Saturday morning. We go up the hill to deliver papers, and he decides to roll the ball down the hill. And I just remember saying, geez, I don't know if we should do that. What if a car comes? There's nobody Saturday morning, So he rolled the thing down the hill. Sure enough, there used to be a Y at the end. Sure enough, this car comes around the freaking corner just as he rolls it down the freaking hill. And this car comes up around the corner, and the freaking guy goes right over the top of the freaking wooden ball. And all you hear is bang, 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 bang as it hammers the bottom of his freaking car. Of course, then he gets out and chews our ass out for freaking, because he knew what we did. So we got freaking nailed for that. And then another Saturday, the Saturday used to be was the only morning time you had the paper, was Saturday morning at that time. And usually it was nice and thin because you had Friday afternoon paper. So Saturday, how much news can happen in the Berkshires, So then Saturdays were always nice thin papers, easy to carry. And we'd whip through it, and so we could have the rest of the day to go play and stuff and horse around or whatever. And I just remember this one Saturday, or the first Saturday, they decided to put all the advertisements in. They just started doing that. It was something new. And they had all the advertisements for all the different stores around here. We're putting in, flyers in and stuff. And we went, what the heck is this? The papers are 3 times heavier than they normally are, So we decided, to hell with that. We don't get paid to deliver freaking advertisements. We get paid to deliver the news. We took all the advertisements out and threw them away. And we delivered all the papers. Of course, people were looking, so they were calling the Eagle looking for their flyer. We didn't get no flyers. So I thought there were supposed to be flyers in the paper now. Of course, we threw them all out, and then we got a phone call from, the Berkshire Eagle called my mom, and my mom finally asked us, hey, boys, what? There was supposed to be flyers. Of course, we brought the flyers home for Mom, but we didn't bring them to anybody else. So we got in trouble for that. They said, no, you can't do that. You got to deliver the papers and flyers and all. Yeah, I remember that one.
All right.
But then Michael again, and our buddy Kevin Grover that lived next door, were up top of Audi Drive one day, messing around in the woods up there. There was like a hill, and we're up there and we find an old wheel, rim, no tire on it, just the rim, metal rim. Well, those 2 clowns decided to roll that thing down the hill. And I said, don't do it. The Bomberts got a brand new car. They lived at the top of the street. I said, they got a brand new car down there. What if it goes all the way down there and hits their car? Oh, it's not going to go that far. It's, Sure enough, they roll the thing down the hill, and it smashes right into Bombert's brand new car. 2 big dents right in the door. Of course, we all take off, Of course, they find it, Start asking questions. Somebody said they saw us up there, and Kevin Grover, I remember, was hiding under his bed in the house. we all got caught. We were young too then. I don't even remember how old we were. But yeah, I remember that one. That was, oh boy. Yeah, we probably got the belt on that too.
I can imagine.
Kevin Grover used to come over when I was a teenager. Got older, I was driving. So I would go to church. Kevin Grover would come over sometimes. Oh, you guys going to church? I'm gonna go with you, catch a ride. Because we didn't always go to the same mass, everybody in the family, So, of course, he jumps in the car. Me and Michael are in there. We get down the bottom of Grange Hall Road. Instead of going right to go to St. Agnes, we go left, go for a joyride. And Kevin Grover goes, what are you doing? Where are we going? I said, not church. He goes, well, geez, he says, I got to get a bulletin, which was something that they put out. So I said, okay. So I turned around. I drive up to the church. He runs in and grabs a bulletin, comes out, and when we take off, we go for a ride. And we used to do that a lot of times.
See, I think now that you say that, I think me and Ryan did that a few
Huh?
times. I think me and Ryan did that a couple times.
Did you? Yeah, we used to go get the bulletin. Yeah.
Probably never changed. I'm sure it's the same.
Yeah, they still do it. They still put it out.
Do they still?
Yeah. But oh yeah, I remember that one because I kept saying no, don't do it. This is not going to end well, and it didn't. Of course, we all got in trouble. I got in trouble too.
So, let's see. What else? What else? Kids are tough. But maybe they don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about it now. What's your relationship like with mom? With your mom?
With my mom?
Yeah.
Good.
Talk to her once a week.
Talk to her just about every Sunday. Sometimes I'll call her a different day, but most of the time I call her on Sunday. And my other brothers and sisters call different days, it seems. So everybody talks to her at least once a week. Sometimes we miss a week or something's going on. You don't get to call her or something, but pretty much talk to her almost every week.
Did you do that always?
I think it probably started more after my father passed, that we wanted to make sure that we stayed in touch with her more. After he passed, I think it was something that everybody's just kind of started to do. It's not like, I don't know how we all started to do it, but we just did. It was just something that we did. I don't know. But I think, yeah, after he passed, it was more because she was alone. So we wanted to, make sure everybody stayed in touch with her, And she loves hearing from the grandkids all the time. I mean, when she gets a phone call from you guys, I hear about it right away. Oh yeah, so-and-so, It's just the highlight, for her.
Yeah. What was it like when Dad passed?
Tough.
Unexpected.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for it. So I thought I was going down and he was going to get out of the hospital and I was going to help my mom. And it didn't go that way. And probably, I don't know, I guess me and him didn't get along when I was a teenager. I mean, he said black, I said white. It was just we butted heads. Then, of course, later on in life, it changed, Yeah. So then, I guess I just wasn't ready for that. I was like, thought I was going to have a lot more time with him, but.
Yeah. Do you remember what you told me? That's what you told me. You said you gave me his putter. Which I still have. In the golf bag. And that's all you said. You handed it to me and you said, I just thought I had more time.
Yep.
And that sucked. What did you gave me his putter. Did you give something to Brian and Brett?
Jeez, I'm trying to remember. I thought I gave Ryan one of his hunting knives or something.
I think so.
I think.
I think so.
I don't remember what we gave Brett. Jeez, I can't remember. My mom gave Brett at the funeral there, wake and stuff, they had like a thumbprint thing or something.
Yeah.
Which my mom gave to Brett.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think Ryan, I gave him one of his hunting knives. Or was it a hunting knife that I don't remember. Maybe it wasn't a hunting knife because he didn't hunt.
Or was it?
It was.
Yeah, it might have been grams.
Might have been grams.
Well, you gave me. I got a bunch of grams.
Yeah.
Half crappy stuff. I feel like.
I can't remember what I gave for Ryan.
Yeah, it's funny whenever I go golfing with people. The handle's destroyed. I mean, it's absolutely destroyed.
You can get it re-gripped.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
And it's like funny because you know how often you go golfing and like you go up to you chip and you're like, fuck, I forgot my putter. Can I use your putter real quick? That happens so many times. Like, me and Kevin golfed all through college and stuff together, and he learned really quickly. Like he would figure his putter. Can I use your putter? And I'm like, and he'd be like, oh, yeah, that's right. I've never let anybody use the putter. It's just like a rule of mine. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. And I've been in tournaments with random people, and they're like, can I use your putter? I'm like, oh no, you can't. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, kind of my rule. You can't touch my putter. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's my poppers. You can't. People are like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, this is my rule. Sorry. Go get your putter. Yeah.
Well, we still have him on speaker that when he called for you to, was he calling for you to go golfing or?
I think so. I don't think I've heard that in a really, really long time. It probably would have been Ryan though.
Were you or Ryan? I thought it was you. That he was.
Because Ryan still is the bigger golfer than
Yeah, I know, but I
did golf a lot in college.
I thought he was calling. I don't remember. I'd have to look
Which would have been in college.
Yeah.
Because it was in college when that
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you have any regrets is like a tough word. Because it sounds negative. But do you have any things that you wish you did?
In my life
or in life, anything.
No. Yeah, I probably wish I had gotten more education. I mean, when I went through high school, I was like, I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there at the time. But then later on, it's like, shit, I should have freaking, done more. I should have learned more and stuff like that. I mean, I probably learned more after I got out of high school than I did at high school. Yeah. I took some classes here and there afterwards and stuff, but that was probably definitely, you look back and go, wow, that was dumb.
Yeah. Anything else?
Probably wish I spent more time with my father. I didn't get to spend enough time with you guys, with work. Miss some of your games and all that stuff. But at the time, it was like, when you had opportunity to work back then, you worked, to pay the bills and stuff. You're like, oh, I got to work overtime. I got to work Saturday. I got to work Sunday.
Do you look back and did you have to work those overtimes, or did you, like, do you think you're like, I probably didn't need to? So.
I probably didn't need to work all of them,
Yeah.
But at the time, you think you do,
Being older now,
Yeah.
I'm like, I get it.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, because then it was weird because then later on when things started getting slowed down at work, and then like they cut back on our hours and stuff, and then of course I wasn't working like the Saturdays and everything I was before. And then after a while, it was like you got used to living off that, and you're like, Christ, now I don't even want to work the Saturdays anymore. Like this is nice not having to go in on the weekends. I think we were towards the end. I was only working half a day Saturday here and there. And I said, well, that wasn't too bad. But after a while, I was like, you know what? Don't really need to. After you get used to it, I guess you just adjust to it. But at the time when, Christ, we were working sometimes 7 days a week, but it was hard to turn down at a double time and time and a half, It's like, oh, geez,
It's funny because I've talked to Ryan about him, where like, we knew you worked a lot. We remember, the buzz, your pager going off at 1 a.m., 11 p.m. and stuff like that. And like, I think now older, it's funny because we look back and even we've talked like where it's like we didn't. It maybe for me especially because I was younger, probably when you were doing it more. But like, I always remember like you were always at the games. Like you were always there.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I hope you know it doesn't. It didn't. It's not like you weren't there. It's not like I look back and you're like, oh wow, yeah, he was never at my games. Like I remember telling Michelle recently, I was like, I remember there was one game, because you're like we're the same, where like you can't sit still the whole time. I remember there was one game, it wasn't even at Wakona, it was somewhere else. And I was like, doing a free kick. And I was like, why the hell is Dad behind the goal? Like you were like the only one, because you were just like putzing around and you were behind the goal when the stands were over on the side. And I was like, what the hell is he doing back there? I'm trying to take a free kick. Yeah, no, and then like all the times you drove me to hockey over in Albany.
Yeah.
Not even Albany. It was
somewhere. Well, Troy. It was in Troy, I think.
Troy. I was trying to describe to Michelle and AJ where it was. I was like, it was this guy's barn. I was like, that's all I remember.
It's up on a hill too, wasn't it?
That's what I said. I was like, it was up like on a hill, and then like you turn, I want to say left into like his driveway, and it was in a fucking barn. Like, I remember it was in a bar.
Yeah, it was weird.
And they're like, we have no idea where that was. I was like, I don't know where it was. I was like, I might be able to like figure it out, but like the first time I drove to Michelle's house, there's that Denny's, that like right off of the highway.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, we ate that one time.
Yeah.
I was like, and it's right down the street from our house.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, Denny's is not that.
It's not that far from Troy because you'd have to go that way to go over Route 20. I was like, weird. Yeah, no, it didn't feel like you missed anything, for sure.
Yeah, I just remember missing some, but
yeah. And now having Kay and stuff, you napping on the couch and stuff. Me and Ryan, you're like, no, we get it now. Because and also I think because me and now even Ryan wakes up early, goes to the gym and stuff. I'm like, I get it now. I don't know.
But I always think that with you guys, to have your great-grandfather, to have you guys know him as well as you did, I always talk about that to people. It's like, that's just unheard of. You guys really... to have someone in your life like that was lived way back, and to you guys quite you know, that was just awesome that you guys got to know him that well, you know, because that's just not heard of nowadays too much, you know, that someone knows they know their grandparents on, but their great grandfather, you guys, I mean, he stayed with us a lot, so.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he was part of the family, kind of. You guys just, you know.
Well, even like, I mean, like Graham and Graham helped you guys a lot.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, God, the amount of times they drove me to soccer. And
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, sports and stuff like that. And we slept up there.
Of course, oh, yeah, they loved going to sports, watching you guys anyways, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I remember like sleeping up there and everything. And
Yeah.
It was so fun hanging out up there.
Well, then they'd come down here Christmas morning. That was a big
Christmas
tradition for us. That was, you know, for you guys, I should say. You know, they would come down. You guys would call them. You know, we're up. Come on down. And then they'd come down, and you guys would open your presents and stuff, and then they'd go back home, and then come back down for Christmas dinner later. You know, that was yeah.
Yeah, I think that recently hit me. I don't know why. I think I put on Graham's coat or something like that. And I was like, that sucks. Like, they didn't get to meet their great grandkids.
Yeah.
They're not a lot to do, but
Yeah.
it was so close.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they'd come up over the mountain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So many drives. So many drives. We drove through that way. Because I cut off the highway.
Yeah.
We went through Enzo. And I was like, oh, and we pointed up Plunkett Street to Michelle.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's the house. And she's been there. But she didn't really, I don't even know if she met Graham. Because we met right around.
Yeah.
And that's.
Yeah.
That was definitely the worst for me so far. Definitely.
But you guys have a lot of good memories, you know?
Super fortunate.
Yeah. Going up to Ashmere Lake at the cottage.
I was just talking to Doug. I was literally talking
yeah.
to Doug about Ashmere.
Yeah.
About ice fishing. So he's like, you should go ice fishing. And I was like,
Yeah.
like, don't bring that up. I was like, I would love to. I was like, hey, I used to love going up to Ashmere. Like, that was awesome. There's one year I won. I got the biggest pike. I got the biggest fish in the tournament. We went up and did the tournament.
Oh, yeah.
And I won, but I couldn't win because it was a shotgun. And I couldn't claim it.
Oh, I don't remember that
I
part.
remember that vividly. I think I was like 12 or something.
Yeah.
We pulled the biggest pike. But I remember, tip up would go off and me and Ryan would chase after it.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, let's talk about Ashmere and the house real quick.
Well, that was Grampy's. I don't know. Somehow Grampy was friends with them. They were from New York.
The Hesses.
The Hesses. And they had that cottage. And I don't remember how they actually met. But they would go out to dinner with them and stuff like that. Diane started to babysit for their kids, and then Mom did also for their kids and another family up there and stuff. So, and then he was involved in Giuliani's era.
His office.
Yeah, so he was very busy there, and then there was like, Christ, a few years. I think there was like 4 or 5 years that they didn't even come up because he was real involved in that. But they let us use the cottage whenever we wanted. We could, we had pretty much free range of it. Me and your grandfather used to do repairs and stuff for him up there, fixing stuff and all that stuff. But, we always, Chris, I kept the canoe up there for years. We always went up there when you guys were little and stuff, we'd just go up there and have lunch sometimes, or dinner or something. We'd stop and get Jimbo's grinders. Remember the big? They were freaking huge.
Yep.
We'd get the Jimbo's grinder and go up there and have lunch, and you guys would swim and all that stuff.
I remember not getting out. I remember not wanting to leave
Yeah.
the water.
Yeah, you guys spent a lot of time up there. It was a nice little spot. Yeah, nice little cove, so it wasn't,
So fun. No boats ever.
No, once in a while a boat would come down, tool around, and come back out or something. But
Randomly. It was so shallow.
yeah, they weren't. Yeah, nobody went fast down in there, anyways.
Yeah.
And even if they did, half the neighbors would be running out, telling them to slow the freak down. There's people swimming in there, But nobody. I don't remember anybody. I think I remember one guy coming in one day, and I remember the neighbor yelling at him, "Hey, slow down! There's freaking people swimming in here." But it usually wasn't a problem.
Yeah. They had that really cool train.
Yeah, forgot about that. Yeah.
And then a rotary phone in the basement until the last time we went.
Yeah, I forgot about that phone. Yeah. They had a pool. Wasn't there a ping pong or a pool table that they had the train set up on?
Oh, it was a pool table that it was on top of.
Yeah.
But I actually didn't know for years that there was a pool table.
Yeah.
Until one time we went back up and they moved it down to like the table.
Yeah.
That was like they had a little sitting area.
Yeah.
Moved it there and I was like, that's a pool table? I mean, the whole house was like from the 80s.
Yeah.
Like it never left the 80s.
Yeah.
Even when we were going in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. You smoked.
I smoked when I was a teenager till maybe 20 years old or something. And I remember, I was working tower work at the time. I think I was at Cranes still. Was I at Cranes then when I quit? I think I might have just started at Cranes, not for a little bit or something. And I just remembered, because I was working tower work. I remember going to Notre Lake, going out there swimming, and I come out of the lake and I'm huffing and puffing. I went, oh my God. I said, that's it. I said, this was before I had kids, but I said, all I could picture was later on in my life having kids sitting in the backyard sucking on an oxygen mask while my kids played in the backyards. I said, that's it. I'm giving these things up. And I quit within a month or something. I remember the last pack of cigarettes I bought. I freaking went and bought a pack of it. Had to have a cigarette, bought a pack of cigarettes. Took like 3 puffs off one, threw the thing out, threw the cigarettes. They were in my glove compartment for about, I don't know, a month or more. And finally one day I just gave them to somebody. I said, here, take those freaking things. I said, I'm done. Yeah.
Definitely something you instilled in all of us. Vividly. Stupid thing to do. Yeah. And it was hard to quit. It was not an easy thing. It's unfortunately it's got like an addiction in you. And even after I quit for years, if I went someplace where there was a lot of people smoking, I would dream that I started smoking. I'd wake up in the morning and go, oh shit, I had a cigarette. And then I went, oh no, that was a dream. But yeah, not good. And my parents both smoked on and off, and my grandpa did too. Yeah, he used to do smoke on and again, off again. He would quit and start. I don't know how he did that. But back then, back in their era, that was common. Everybody smoked, But yeah, today it's like, I don't even know how people afford it at $10 a pack or whatever the hell they are. I don't know. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't know how they do it. What was it like when you found out you're gonna have a grandchild?
Exciting. It was like, because, me and Mom kept talking, like, wow. Geez, are we ever gonna have grandkids? Nobody's having kids. I mean, is this crazy? Because I guess we were used to, back in the day, we would have had grandkids 10 years ago or something, you know. So it was exciting for us, I think, you know. It was like, oh wow, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, there's another one coming, well, two, and another one. It's like, boom, 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 boom. But we love it, you know. It's great, you know. We can't wait to see them grow up and play sports or do whatever they want to do, you know.
Cool.
I need to choose his diaper, sorry.
That's fine. We're pretty much done. I don't think I really actually had anything
Hi,
else.
baby.
Oh, do you want to just do it
yeah.
there?
Well, just in case.
And there's one.
Hi, baby.
Ah,
Hi.
I don't think I really have anything else.
Okay.
Oh. You done?
Well, we went for a long time.
Yeah, you did. I was up there the whole time.